All right, all right, all right. This is more than just a movie. I am Kendell Lenice, and that is my boy Leroy Mckenzie Jr. We are talking disappearing acts today. I'm so excited about that because this is one of my faves as well. You know, not just because Sanaa Lathan is in it, as I always say, but this is more than just a movie where we break down classic Black films. Hey, Leroy.
What's up? I'm detecting a little favoritism here in these movies that we do. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to the HBCUs. I got on my UMES, my alumni shirt today. I'm just hollering out at my HBCUs today.
Come on now. Come on. So I see that's because we are one and the same. Because you said let's do disappearing acts. And I was saying that's one of
Hey,
my favorite movies. So let's do it.
absolutely.
I didn't seen it 86 times.
Yeah,
But
and here's the thing. I actually went and watched it again because I hadn't watched it in a long time. I hadn't watched it in a long time. So I actually went and watched it again.
oh,
Yeah,
did you?
so I just to make sure because you know the
Yeah,
stuff that,
yeah.
but just to kind of refresh myself up with everything in the movie. And this was a really good movie. So I'm glad we
Yes.
did select this one to
And
to talk
I
about.
didn't watch it over for this, but
Mhm.
I need to because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So let me talk about the movie. So Disappearing Acts. It came out December 9th, 2000. I remember watching it because it didn't go to the movies. It was a straight HBO film.
I was going to see if you were going to
Yep,
ask me that. Well, do I
yep,
remember where I went to go see it at? Like,
yep.
nope, I was sitting in the house watching it.
And let me tell you something. I was waiting
Mm,
for this movie
mm.
because this is the book. Look how jacked up it is. Look,
Yeah, because when did the book come out? Because
1989.
was it 89? Okay, yep. Because I read the
89
book too.
Disappearing Acts
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Terry McMillan. Let me tell you something. I have read this book at least 3, 4 times.
It looks
And I
like it.
remember this came out in 89 because I read it at different stages of my life. I even got the nerve to have a little tape on it right there, like it's holding it. But this book was one
Yeah,
of my favorite books by Terry McMillan at that point.
yeah.
And it came out in 1989. That's the year I graduated from high school.
Okay.
Was 1989. And Terry McMillan didn't have a whole lot of books yet. Look at the tape. Just look. Can you see the tape?
Uh,
Trying to hold the whole book
you was gonna
together.
keep that thing together, weren't you?
Right.
You gonna keep that thing
And
together.
exactly. And I will read this book again. I have so many books on my bookshelf that I've shelf that I have read, excuse me, more than one time, right? And this one was one of them. So when I heard that they were going to do a movie, I was like, oh goodness, because this was a national bestseller. I hope that this movie is just as good as the book, right? Because you know, sometimes with book, as Terry McMillan has tons of books that have been turned into movies, and she's working on another one right now.
Really? I thought it was only two.
No, she did How Stella Got Her Groove Back, Waiting
Right.
to Exhale, this, A Day Late, A Dollar Short. That
Really?
was a movie.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
she's working on the one, It's Downhill From Here, which was a good book. It came out maybe like 3 years ago.
Really?
She's
Okay.
working on that. So she's had like 4 books
And and
in the works
and I to
that turned to
me,
movies.
the one that I'm surprised that she hasn't, and I'm sure it was a bestseller too, was Mama. That was it.
Yes. And
That was
Mama was one of her first books, if
yeah.
not the first book, I believe.
Right. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
not the first. It was like one of those first one or two books that she had written.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that one hasn't been selected for them to make into a movie.
Me
You know?
too, but then it's like it's loosely based on her mom, and I know her
Oh,
mom had passed,
okay.
so I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's a reason, maybe.
Yeah.
But Mama was such a good book, and as a writer myself, and as an avid reader, like when I wrote my first novel in 2015, I looked at her and Kimberly Lawson and certain people because Terry McMillan kicked the door open. Of course, we had the Zora Neale Hurston's. Um, which Sanaa Lathan's character was Zora Banks, named after Zora Neale Hurston.
Absolutely.
But you had that wave in the Harlem Renaissance wave of writers, and those Black writers like Langston Hughes, James Baldwin, you know, all of those power, Lorraine's Hansberry of Raisin in the Sun. And then Terry McMillan bust the door wide open with the new wave of Black writers. And then you had people like Kimberly Lawson, Elin Harris, Eric Jerome Dickey, both rest in peace. Mary B. Monroe, like you had all of the new ones. And Terry McMillan was the one who made her way in, and she kicked the door down when it came to those. And I remember, I think I talked about Terry McMillan when I saw her do a book signing one time. It was in a church, and she was being Terry McMillan and was cussing. And, you know, I just love the fact that even with her books, I'm looking for it on YouTube now, even with her books and making them into movies, now, you know, it's audio. I remember when I used to get the book on tape, like the cassette tapes. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, they're doing, they went to CDs. And now it's through, you know, Audible and Libby and different things like that, where you can hear the books in that way. And the good thing about that is that Terry McMillan does her own, which I love about her. Mm-hmm. So she does her own audios for her books. But let's talk about, I'm just making sure this is posted as well. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna post it to Facebook. Okay. So Disappearing Acts, again, December 9th, 2000, came to HBO. I remember where I was living, my little place I had. I remember sitting on the couch like, I'm so excited about one of my favorite books becoming a movie. And then the director, Gina Price Bythewood, who did Love and Basketball too, she directed that.
And I remember, I think Sanaa was saying Disappearing Acts led her to work with the director in Love and Basketball.
Yeah.
Because that was, I think I don't know if Disappearing Acts was her first kind of acting, you know, major role or whatever. But I know they developed that friendship from that, which led to Love and Basketball.
Yeah, you are so right, Leroy, because it did lead to that, because she did work with that. But the thing was that both of the movies came out around the same time. But I think that they both came out in 2000. But Disappearing Acts was, I believe, filmed first. Mm-hmm. And that's what got her to work with Gina Bythewood. I keep saying Brightwood. Yeah. Bright, Bythe, Bythewood. Yeah. And of course, the story is by Terry McMillan. And the book came out, as we said, in 1989. But this is what it was interesting. So this is something that I just want to pause about someone's dream or things coming to pass. The book came out in 1989. The movie came out years later in 2000. But then it didn't start streaming for 17 years. It didn't start streaming until 2017. Mm-hmm. So think about that gap from 1989, you're working the same book all the way to 2017. And when I was doing my research for that, because I have the DVD, but when I was doing the research for this show, I was like, what? It didn't start streaming on platforms until 2017? And I know it's not on Netflix, it hasn't been, or Hulu or anything like that.
But that's probably an HBO thing, because they probably didn't want to license it out to anybody and everything like that, because that was their catalog.
Absolutely.
So they really didn't have to. Now you might have been able to catch it on like HBO Demand, you know how you do the on demand type thing, but yeah, this one definitely wasn't readily available like a lot of
Right, and that's what I was going to say. It probably was streaming on HBO's platform in 2017, not even anywhere else.
Right. But here's the funny thing. Guess where I watched it on? Guess what I just watched it on?
YouTube. Don't YouTube?
YouTube. Watched it on
You saw the whole movie on YouTube.
The whole movie on YouTube.
So if you haven't seen the movie after you watch this, because disclaimer, as we always say, it is a spoiler alert. If you are watching more than just a movie where we break down classic Black films, the only way Leroy and I know how to do it as a life coach, as a lover of movies, we break it down in a different way. So all the reviews that you see on movies on YouTube or beyond, they're not going to be like this, because we break them down in a different way. We make these people real and we relate it to life and sometimes our lives. But so after you watch this, don't forget to subscribe first. Subscribe here and then go watch it on YouTube if you have not seen it. And you would be surprised, Leroy, how many people have not seen Disappearing Acts.
Yeah, and that's probably because it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't in the movie theaters, and it was released strictly to HBO. So you didn't have, a lot of people. Some people don't have HBO. Some people, it wasn't. I guess I loved it. Some people didn't. It wasn't on. I guess I don't know how big the marketing was, but those of us that are avid readers followed it because we read. Most people who watched the movie read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and were like you, were waiting for the movie to come out. Yeah. Because we knew the book was really good. The book was really good.
Yeah. So. Because you want to brush up, because think about it. The book came out in 1989. The movie came out in 2000. So I was like, let me brush up. Let me make sure I remember Zora Banks and Franklin Swift. Let me make sure. And I did the same thing with the movie Baggage Claim. Because I read that book years before the movie came out. And then when the movie came out, David E. Talbert, I was like, let me read it again. Because it's always fun to see. But of course, because in the book, you can really go there and then you use your imagination with reading to think about what these characters look like, and they can go a little step further. So I always like to read the book before the movie comes out and read the book again to see what they kept or what they, decided to scrap. So the movie stars Sanaa Lathan as Zora Banks, the main character, named after Zora Neale Hurston. Wesley Snipes as Franklin Swift, when she says, why ruin such a dignified name by calling yourself Frankie? So she always called him Franklin. And then you had Regina Hall, yet again with Sanaa Lathan, and they're in real life, they're best friends too. And probably they met on some of these movies. And then you had my girl, what's her name? Lisa Arundel Anderson, who played Claudette. She was the other friend of Zora. And y'all remember her back in the day from that old movie, Living Large. Do you remember that with TC?
Yes. People, see, that's how much of a movie buff we are. We actually like movies like Living Large.
Yes. and people.
I'm gonna throw one on you, Strictly Business. I don't know if you watched that.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah. That's one of my favorite movies. And that, you cannot find that. I have searched for that to buy that on DVD. Right. I have searched to stream that. Whoever owns that, or I don't know if with the licensing, you can't find that movie anywhere. So anyone who's watching right now, and you know how I can rewatch Strictly Business after the 20th time, let me know. Because I have been trying to show my kids that movie for years and can't find it. And I remember where I was what movie theater I was watching that movie. I remember that, but absolutely. And then you had the legend CCH Pounder, who played Wesley Snipes' mom, and James Amos, who played the dad. He will always be James Evans.
James Evans Sr.
Right. Clark Johnson. You had Q-Tip as Reg, the music producer. And you also had Anjanou Ellis, who did an amazing job as Maddie Moss Clark on the Clark Sisters movie. I don't know if y'all saw that movie, but she played Wesley Snipes' baby mama or ex-wife. It was the ex-wife. And she said, I would have told you, that, how do I want to say it? The D ain't worth the headache.
They worth the headache or the stress.
Or the stress. Because
she dug into him with that.
Yes, she did.
I was like, ooh. I was like, that hurt right there.
That hurt
me. I was like,
right. So the premise of this movie, for those that don't know, Zora is a teacher, a music teacher, but she her passion lies in singing. So she wants to be a singer, and she's a pianist. So she moves to Brooklyn to save money. So she moves into this brownstone because she wants to cut her demo. She wants to be an artist. So she moves there to save money to get her piano out of layaway so she can begin this journey as a singer outside of being a music teacher. And I don't even need a script. This is crazy. But so she meets Franklin Swift at the brownstone. So Q-Tip, so you have the I can't even think what is his name. Oh, my mind just went blank. I'll think about it later. Laz Alonso. So you have Laz Alonso, which was one of his first roles because he used to be a VJ on BET. So he's the moving guy. So he moves her into this, supposed to move her into this brownstone, but it wasn't ready, right? But it wasn't ready just yet. So he throws her stuff out pretty much on the curb because the brownstone isn't ready yet because they're still working on it. But then the moving guy has to go. So all her stuff is out there. Right. All this stuff. What kind of mover is that? All this stuff.
But can you blame him?
Name was on the truck, lady.
Yeah, he had other stuff that he had to deliver. So
yeah, I get it. I get it.
Wait, though. You know what I'm saying? That was a bad, unfortunate thing that happened.
Yes. But the cold thing when she was like, I'm calling you first. He was like, the numbers on the truck, lady. I'm like, so she's standing out there with all her stuff pretty much on the curb. And she goes to the brownstone, and this is where she meets Franklin Swift. He, is I don't want to say a handyman of some sort.
He's a fixes
up.
Guy.
Yeah, he fixes up brownstones, and that's what he does. So he was trying to do her floor, and he was trying to be, every detail like many artists, and it wasn't ready. The floor wasn't dry. So of course she thought he was trying to holler at her. One thing leads to another. He helps her move her stuff into this brownstone. And then that's where their love affair begins. Right. So good music in this film, a lot of original music. Sanaa Lathan is not a singer, so she
wasn't a singer, and she wasn't a basketball player either, because she talked about that too. So her acting skills got
right, and she wasn't a journalist,
right?
And brown sugar,
right? So
right. So a fun fact, I remember when this movie came out and they had the press for the movie. Sanaa Lathan had to gain like 20-25 pounds to play this role because in the book, the lady was heavy. So they wanted to show the dynamics of a heavy woman. Because you think about this is 1989. A heavy woman being attractive and being appealing.
She didn't look heavy in the movie to me.
She was heavier than she was. Think about her as Monica on Love and Basketball, and think about the junk in the trunk that she had in this movie.
Yeah, I could see Love and Basketball. She would have to be in shape because of the running that she had to do and stuff. But she looked natural to me. She looked natural.
That's the point. Exactly. I agree. She looked like a regular woman, right? Mm-hmm. But that goes to show you. So they wanted her to be heavy. So that goes to show you a size 12 is heavy. You get what I'm saying? A size 10.
Yeah.
Right.
That's Hollywood for you, though.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So the woman, remember when they're by the refrigerator before that amazing love scene on the refrigerator.
No, let me tell you. This movie, period, it had to have had the most sex scenes that I can remember in a movie. But like you said, for those that haven't seen the movie, y'all will remember the refrigerator scene. You will. Right. I promise you will never look at a refrigerator the same way.
Right. Never. An open refrigerator.
Ever. You will not look at a refrigerator the same way after you see that scene. I trust and believe that.
Absolutely. That scene I had to watch like this. It was steamy. And on the scene, she was insecure, remember, about her body. Right. And he was like, wait a minute. Right. All right, listen. So this is the beginning, how it comes on. Yeah. So the truck that, listen, this is the scene. So the truck is pulling up in front of the brownstone. And so now Lathan jumps out. I'll see if you guys can see it.
Oh, shit.
Oh, did I get you? Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Oh, you must be the one taking 2B, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, sorry. Floors ain't dry yet. It's going to be about another hour, you know?
An hour? But everything was supposed to be done by today.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to talk to the landlord about that. I mean, he wasn't shoving out no overtime for me to come in this weekend, so I wasn't coming in. But I'll tell you this, though. We got some fine wood grain floors up there. Sanded them up myself. Got them joints all polished up.
Getting into my apartment on time means more to me than what kind of wood grain is on the floors. Oh, wait. I can't get in yet.
So where do you want me to put it?
If you could just wait a half an hour.
Sorry, miss. I got to be in the store in about 5.
You're joking, right? You're not going to leave my things on the curb after I get $100. Are you deaf? I will have your ass fired.
Numbers on the fucking truck, lady.
Now she's looking at Franklin like, what you gonna do?
Like, excuse me, my brother.
Right.
Can you help a sister out?
I don't work for free.
Look at her stuff. Now, any brother is going to have to help. Like, they can't just be watching the sister take all that stuff.
All that stuff is, yeah, that would have been really
I
cool.
sing, so a piano's going to go in the middle room. Besides, compared to Manhattan, this is dirt cheap.
You a singer, huh?
Yes.
What'd you say your name is?
Zora Banks.
Zora, huh? I like that. That's like Zora Neale Hurston. You know who that is?
I was named after her.
Cool. So, sing something for me, Zora.
First of all, I don't know you, and I'm not exactly in the singing mood.
I'm Franklin. Franklin Swift. You can call me Frankie.
Everyone's such a dignified name by calling yourself Frankie.
You can call me Franklin if you want to. Yeah, so I guess you gonna get your man to help you with all of your stuff.
That's right? How y'all do. I try to see.
Hey, that's how you do it. You do it the subtle way of not asking where you got a man. You just find a subtle way to kind of, get the answer without asking the question. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No, I'm just saying because if you needed some help, I mean, if I did it, it'd be done like that.
And I wanted them to see so we can explain how this love affair goes.
Don't women like you know how to take some help from a man?
Women like me.
Yeah, black, beautiful, independent.
Fine. I'd appreciate it. I just thought you didn't work for free.
You knew they was gonna throw that back up.
But right now, I just want to get out of these sweaty clothes.
I like that.
And relax for a minute. How about tomorrow? I'm home around 6.
6 it is. Sit up and down.
6 then.
All right.
Okay. So I wanted to play that because I wanted to show those, because we're getting ready to get into this. So I wanted to show people how they met, right? Pretty honest, pretty fair. So what happens, I want to talk about this. So there were a few times in this movie that she should have said, you know what, I'm cutting this relationship loose because this person is showing who he is. Not that he's not a good man, but he's showing who he is. So in several places in this movie that she should have, if we're thinking about traditional standards, she should have walked away. So they
red flags.
Red flags, exactly. Red flags. So I'm just going to talk about the scene right after this, and then we're going to jump around. On this show, we jump around and talk about different scenes. So the next scene is, remember, he just said in here that he was going to help her. He offered, right, to do it. So he was supposed to come back. He never came back. So she goes to walk to get some Chinese food, right? And he's there. So then he charms his way. She's like, I waited for you. And then, of course, she got hungry. So she went to get food. And then he walks up in the Chinese joint. So then she gets the bag of food for herself. So then he charms himself like, okay, you got enough for me. And he charms himself into eating the food with her. And then that's when it officially started. All right.
I'm gonna add some more to that. It wasn't just that he just didn't show up, because in that scene, when he comes in, he also tells her, which didn't look good on his part, he couldn't remember her last name.
Yes.
And he didn't have her phone. He was like,
yes.
It wasn't like I could call you to let you know,
right.
Now he, if I remember correctly, he had forgotten about the date anyway, I think, because he was somewhere off. I think he was with his cousin, brother, whoever it was, getting some drinks and stuff like that. So he had forgot about it until he ran into it in the Chinese store.
Right.
So, whatever that come may be. So they didn't exchange phone numbers, though, too. She was just, I guess, assuming that he was going to come back to her place that evening at 6 o'clock and everything like that, too. So.
Yes. But the thing is, and that's where a red flag is for a woman, because if a man wants to find a woman, or he's interested in the woman, and this was back when you can dial 411, and she talks about, being she was listed. Or you can find a way to get the phone number. You can find a way if that's what you want. So it was almost like an excuse to her, but with his charm, it kind of like, okay, I'm not going to be too hard on him. And he kind of charmed his way in.
Yeah, that one wouldn't have, it would have probably, if that wouldn't have been, I think the other ones were worse red flags.
Oh, it gets worse, but it gotta start from somewhere. And that's what I want people to know. Some signs start small. And as you get to know the people, they grow and get bigger. And that's the point. So I'm glad that you said that, because that's the point I want to make. So sometimes there are signs within the smallest detail. Like it shows, you can really look at that and say, shows that he doesn't keep his word, that he's not really trying to push, maybe to pursue her, or that he's simply not interested. All three of those things you could have gotten out of that, but and it starts to show itself. So when you think about Zora and you think about Franklin, let's talk about that. So you have a professional woman and a blue collar man. Let's have that conversation to start off.
Well, I think that and all right, ladies, I guess I'll get the hate mail. Don't send it to don't send it to Kendell. But this is something that usually doesn't happen. If you remember the conversation that she had with her two girlfriends, it's like the good angel and the bad. They're the good angel and the bad angel.
You got Claudette and Portia.
And so Regina Hall's character is the bougie
Portia.
Yeah, you don't need to be paying attention to no dude that's a blue collar worker. You need to get with the dude that's got the shirt and tie, 6 figures, that can take care of you. Whereas her other girlfriend, she's like, give him a chance and that's that's kind of cool, get to know him and everything like that. And then even Zora herself said, I've dated the shirt and tie
brothers.
And they weren't, they were just as whatever as the blue collar guys. So she decides to, to say, you know what, I'm gonna see where this goes. I'm gonna see where this relationship can go. She thought he was attractive. She knew that he was at the time. She thought he was hard work. He was hard working. Had a job, was doing something with. He worked well with his hands. You tell me if this is true, that women love men or like men that are handy with their handy with their hands, whether it's with a car or whether it's in a house and everything like that.
Yes.
Really? Yeah. So yeah, that I'll say that too. That wasn't me. This is my best friend. She always get on me because she's a handy woman. Because she'll put stuff together, whatever too.
Yeah.
And you need to learn how to put some stuff together. Women like
Yeah.
who water. I'm like, no, I don't. I said that's what you got a mechanic for. That's what you got a maintenance guy that you can call to come and do the work for. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I don't heck know how to do
You
that.
sound like Daryl. Daryl's like, well, I'll pay for it, and I'll put stuff together.
Right.
You know, and then you do have the group where it's like, nobody got time for that. I'll pay somebody or I'll have somebody do it.
Right.
And I'm like, I'll do it. I'm
But-
with your friend.
Yeah, but she decided to give him a chance, and we'll get into this. He omitted a whole lot of information, and
A whole lot.
But then again, too, did he omit or did she not ask either? You know what I
A
mean?
lie untold is still a lie. A truth untold is still a lie. It's still a lie. But that's how y'all
He
do.
didn't. No,
I didn't lie.
he didn't
Just
lie.
didn't
He
tell
didn't
you.
lie. He as they said in what was it? Think Like a Man. You omit. He
Right.
omitted information.
Right.
He didn't lie about it. He didn't
Right.
say he didn't have kids.
But the
He didn't
truth
say he
untold
didn't. Right. The
is still a
truth will
lie.
always come out though too. The truth will always come out though too. You know what I'm saying? And
That's how y'all do. Listen, ladies. That's how. Listen to Leroy.
no, don't try and put that on. Don't try and put that on men because y'all omit too. Y'all won't say
But
stuff
no.
either. Don't go there.
But that's real. No, it's real. It's real. Everybody tries to. Well, we won't say everybody because some people might just come right out. It is what it is. Yeah, I'm big on the truth, but a lot of people do because it depends on you pace yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was pacing himself or purposely or unpurposely because he didn't want to have to deal with it. But the thing about Franklin Swift is when he told his lie, she either found out or he said it like, it's no big deal. So let's just go right into one of the lies. Okay, well, I got to say this first. So Zora and Franklin start dating, right? And, they got the montage, they going out, walking down the street, holding hands, having a good time. They all in love. His friends is like, where's Franklin?
Right,
I heard you pushing up on the new woman. I heard, that's what I heard, and they're just loving one another.
Why is it
new romance?
Why is it that people get ghosts when they get into these relationships?
Some people do. You don't hear from because they in that love zone, baby. They in the love zone.
You be like, where they at? They're like, Jerome.
In the love zone. I be like, they in the love zone. You can't forget about your friend. I always tell my daughter, I was like, when you get somebody, I said, don't be in the love zone now. You got to come out a little bit, I said, when we're just talking about, speaking stuff into existence. Like, yeah, when you get yours, don't be in the love zone. But it's so funny because my daughters have both seen this movie, and my oldest daughter was like, this is so toxic. I remember years ago when she saw it, she's old enough to watch it. And she's like, this is toxic. Like, come on, dude, and it's funny watching it from a millennial's eyes because you see it too. But if you have somebody that's not well versed in relationships or experiences, then it really is polarized. And then if you have somebody who is experienced in relationships, like that's regular, then that's a whole nother conversation that this is regular. You know what I mean? So they date and everything. And then then he drops the bomb that he has kids and they're dating for months. You got kids? How many you have? 2 boys. What?
Okay. Now, is that, like I said before, now is that his fault or is that her fault? Because like you said, that's several months. And you mean to tell me in those several months that you're dating, the conversation has not led to, do you have any kids? And I'm saying on both ends,
right.
Him asking her and her asking him, well, do you have any kids? I can understand not asking the married thing because,
right.
But I mean, think about it. Think about when the movie came out, when we watched it, we were in our 30s. Because that was 2000. So you're talking 20 years, 20 years ago. 20 years ago. So in your 30s.
Yeah, because I was about 29 when I saw it.
So, and I mean, by that time, you're in your late 30s, your late 20s, early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
You've kind of gone through that, and hey, there's certain things that I need to ask when
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
meet somebody. Getting married has come to be on that list. Are you
Yeah.
married? Are you separated?
Yeah.
Are you divorced?
Because
Those
even in
things
that,
that
because even in that movie, whether it was a few weeks, a few months, we know it was a while. It was
yeah, it
more
was a
than a
while.
day. And
Exactly.
like you say, like I guess, and that can go both ways. Like the woman, if you're thinking about in your late 20s, you might ask the man. We don't know if he said no, or we don't know if he lied, or we don't know if he said we'll talk about it later, or we don't know if she asked at all.
Right. Right.
Because and you do meet some people, Leroy, that expect honesty from the person and the person to tell you. So if they didn't say it, then it may not be,
Right.
and you got both sides, or you ask and they don't say, or you don't even ask at all.
Right.
So do you think that should be one of the questions that even with a millennial young person dating, if they never seen kids or never.
Right. You should, to me, that should be a conversation piece. Now, I'm not saying the first date, you got to, how many kids you got and all of that stuff, but that should be that second, when you realize, hey, I'm interested in seeing this person a second time, third time, and all of those things.
Yeah.
That's when you should be starting to either notice or you should be asking those kinds of questions. And I get on Franklin's side, him not necessarily being forthcoming, because like he said in the movie about, if he had told her that stuff from day one, she'd have ran to the other side of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With all the stuff that he had going on and everything like that. So, you do have to, and he probably didn't, I mean, both of them, they didn't know whether or not they were going to move further in the relationship. It's once you say, hey, you know what, that second, third date, I kind of need to let her know I got a couple of kids, and then I'll let you talk about the other thing that came along with the kid.
Right. So let's go back. Let's go back to what you brought up a scene. So let's go back to Zora's friends. She got Portia and Claudette. Claudette, she got Portia, like, if he ain't got no money and he ain't got no this, and then you got Claudette. But what if he's a good man? All good men don't come in, so you got the both, right? So what about, let's talk about the second one. I think it's the second red flag. Let's talk about that, where because the children one was the third red flag, if just by my memory. So the second red flag was when she went out with her girlfriends, Portia and Claudette, remember? Mm-hmm. And she came home and Franklin was on her doorstep.
Oh yeah, he was sitting at the brownstone.
So that's almost a red flag. Like, okay, you already know where I live, so it's not like you're stalking me per se, because you know where I live, but supposed to contact her. Like she said, how do you know? He said, I came to your house, but you weren't here. So he kind of waited. And she says, how did you know that I wasn't going to come home with somebody? And then he didn't even think about that and, taking his chances that way. So he comes back and she's like, do you want me to stay? And before he could really get it out, she was like, pretty much, yeah, and then that's when, of course, they go into the house and all of that. But that's kind of like in the beginning of their relationship and that passionate love affair that they had, because they had a lot of passion, good and bad, but there was a lot of passion in the relationship. So what do you think about the move of sitting there and waiting until she comes home? Because it's kind of a little stalkerish, but some might say it's kind of cute, or some might say, well, it's not a stalkerish because he knew. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think, like you said, I think that may depend on the woman. Some women would have thought that it was cute. Oh, he's sitting outside my home waiting for me to come back. He really must like me. He really must be into me, must be feeling me. Or, like you said, there may be some other ones be like, I don't know, this dude. And I guess as a woman, you all have to always be careful though too. When it comes, you come back home, dude sitting outside waiting for you. You're like, what? And it's not like he called. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
By that time, he should have had the phone number.
Yeah, and no cell phones then, so he didn't really. When cell phones were like popping like they are now.
No, you're talking 2000.
But I'm saying, but think about it. So everybody didn't have a cell phone, and everybody didn't. Now everybody does. Like it still was certain people that didn't have a cell
in 2000
phone.
though.
They didn't have no cell phones. Think about it.
It might
You
have been
didn't see one cell phone.
It was the big ones. It was some of the big ones. I'm thinking of the
think
phones were at
about
least
it.
out by then.
Everybody didn't have it. Think about it in the movie. No one had a cell phone. No one had pulled out a cell phone. Like you watch the movie now, everybody got a cell phone.
Yeah, that's true.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so when you think of it's interesting because I read the book at first when I was in my teens. Then you watch it. I watched it when I was in my late 20s. And then I've seen it in my 30s. I've seen it in my 40s. So you different feelings about the movie can shift throughout your experience and your maturity and your age. Like, wait a minute, where something might have been cute. Then it's like, wait a minute, that's not cute. But the movie was very passionate. So they go into the house, and then that's when that love scene, happens when she's looking at him and she's like, I met this, this dog brother, in construction, blah, 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 blah. And you can tell that she's feeling him and he's feeling her. And then they have this love scene. Like you said, there's so many different passionate love scenes in this movie. HBO signed on.
Dawn, Weston, so now y'all getting it in, ain't she?
They got it all. They was getting it in all the way in. And so that refrigerator scene, if anybody knows, I don't want to play that part, or I don't want to play that one. I guess I don't. You gotta watch that one on your own. I don't want to get a rating for playing it.
With YouTube, you put that little, even though they did play it on YouTube.
Do that in your own home, but it's very passionate. I mean, it's no nudity. But it's very passionate because they're in the, she's going and she's like, what do you want, a Heineken? All brothers like Heineken, that's a thing. And she goes to the refrigerator and then he meets her at the refrigerator. The refrigerator is open and then they start kissing and then her shirt goes up and then she's kind of insecure because in the book, remember, she's supposed to be overweight. She's really not. She's still fine as wine, even in the movie. So then he's like, no, and he looks for a minute and she has this childish grin in a way, this that kind of thing that women do, and he reassures her. And he starts, I'm like, he all over Sanaa's boobs. He starts putting them hands all over the boobs, squeezing them. I was like, okay, we're really doing this, and then they have this passionate love scene. And then I love the fact that, they play Scrabble together. So then you see them in different areas where it's not just sex, although it is steamy, that this relationship is like that. And sometimes I think because people don't have a lot of passion in their relationships, when they find one, it's hard to really let go of that because they almost had like a friendship love affair until things started getting deep. So what you think about so much passion in this movie?
I mean, honestly, I think I thought that was a real. I mean, I thought the whole movie was real when it comes to relationships, just like Love and Basketball. It took you through this emotional roller coaster that this couple who finds themselves naturally, she's moving into a brownstone. He happens to be one of the construction workers. She thinks that he's attractive. He likes her. She likes him. And she's like, yeah, why not give him a chance? And why not? Yeah. I'm single. She thought he was single. So so let's see where this relationship can go. And I'm telling you, to me, there's nothing stronger when you have the physical chemistry is there between a couple. When you got it like that's
so
real.
True.
That's
you can't buy that. You can't buy that. You're right.
You cannot.
Because every relationship doesn't have it.
Yeah. When that thing is clicking like that and you find somebody that is as passionate as you are and you all match that chemistry like that, it, like you said, it's hard to let go of that because of that bond that you have. And that's what they found themselves being able to doing. hard to let go. Now she should have been the one to let go. He was, it just looking at the movie, I was just like circumstances and stuff like that. But unfortunately, a lot of brothers find themselves being Franklin.
Yeah.
They got these big dreams. They talk about what they want to do, what they're gonna do, but then they always seems to be something. But he got in his own way.
Yeah.
He got in his
He
own way. He really got
did.
in his own way. And I'm not blaming for the relationship, but I do believe there could have been things that he could have done better
Yeah.
that would have made that relationship last and not have to go through the breakup that they went through
Yeah.
because of the actions that he took and that he did.
So let's talk about that. So he discussed. So I don't even. We just gonna say it's a whole bunch of red flags because I'm gonna lose count in a minute.
I know, right?
Red flag. So of course he didn't tell her he had kids. So another thing that he held was that he didn't graduate from high school, and she was like, "You don't even got your GED. You didn't even have a GED, right?"
Yep.
So then he lied too and said that he was not married, but he was still legally married. So all of these things are coming up in the beginning of their relationship, and she still stays. So it's the challenge comes, well, if as Terry McMillan wrote her, is it because she's insecure? She feels like no one else is checking for her, no one else might. So does she feel that she has to accept these just to have that man? And a lot of women think that, because each time, and then what I didn't like about it is each time he minimized it like it was no big deal. Yeah, I was going to get around to that. I'm going to get around to that. Oh, I just haven't, or I hadn't had the money, or I haven't had the time. And one thing that bugs me just in general is people say, I didn't get a chance to. Like, you had the chance to do it, but you just didn't do it. You know what I mean? That's what anybody, women or whoever, maybe changing the verbiage like, oh, I didn't do it yet. I can respect that more than, oh, I didn't get a chance to do it.
Yeah, and I think it becomes a thing of where your priority.
Mm-hmm.
What's a priority to you?
Right.
Because he used, the adage was, he was telling her in one of the scenes, it's like every time I seem to get 2 steps forward, and I get caught up with my child support or paying, his son's mother, the money that he pays her for the kid, to take care of the sons or to help with the son. He's like, I wound up losing the job. And that was the biggest thing to me. He was in an industry that is inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for it to be consistent, he had to have certain, credentials.
Mm-hmm.
And he had.
And one of them was a GED or a high school diploma.
Right. And I'm quite sure if he had put forth the effort and explaining that to his son's mother, hey, I'm trying to get my GED. Can you bear with me with not being able to? I really want to take care of this. As soon as I get my GED, I'm going to be able to make it better, get a better consistent job, and I'll be able to pay you more consistently because I'll have the credentials that I need in order to be able to be in a better position with doing construction, because he was good at what he did.
Yeah,
he was great at what he did.
You can tell he loved it.
Yeah, and that was his passion. That was his passion, but he just didn't seem to make getting done what he needed to get done a priority. If the GED is what you needed, hey, okay, what do I need? I got to buckle down for, I don't know how long it would take somebody to get their GED, to complete their GED, but you take the classes or the courses that you need, get that, knock that out. Okay, that's step one. I got that done. Now I can go and get that that certification that I need on the construction job. Is going to take me to that next level of getting the money that I need to be getting.
Yeah.
Boom. Then got that done. Now I can start to move into
have a plan, like a real plan.
Yeah, a real plan, and you have markers for yourself.
Exactly.
That was the thing that he didn't do, and he
needed a life coach.
Absolutely. Somebody that would hold him accountable.
Exactly.
at
And
that
that's
time,
what we
even
do.
before he got involved with Zora, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and Zora was, and I will say that she was there for him. She supported
Patient.
him. But he seemed to, and fellas, y'all can get mad if you want to, but he wasn't handling his business because she
No, he
did,
wasn't. And I'm
and
glad
not
you
just
said
that.
that as a man.
He had two things. One, he let his ego, and men do that too. A lot of men do that when we don't feel like we're performing for those duties that we feel as a man. We kind of take that and take anything that our woman will say to us as her trying to demean us or her trying
Mm-hmm.
to downplay us and everything like that. And
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't doing that. She was trying to say, "Look, I
Mm-hmm.
believe in you. I
And
know you
yeah,
can do what is it going to do. You just
yeah,
you gotta work harder at it.
yeah,
Things aren't going to just be given to you. You
yeah,
know, those
yeah.
things aren't going to
And
just
she
be given to you."
saw, because she
Right,
was a writer, like she
right.
wrote for him.
Yeah,
Like she believed in him. She
right,
believed in his gift. She believed, she was like, you don't just have to work for Benny. You know, F
right.
Benny. You can start your you can
That was
start your
cool.
own business, because he wanted to rehab brownstones
Right,
in a beautiful way. And anybody who's been in a brownstone, you know they're amazing.
right,
So the craftsmanship, he knew, he knew how to do that, and he cared, and he was truly passionate about it. So it
right,
doesn't matter what you're doing for a living, as long as you're passionate at it, as long as you're good. And he was both. So she saw this, as many women do, this wasted potential.
yeah.
Like, you know what? You can be doing so much more because you're so gifted. And she told him, you all that. Like, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to him to go ahead. So he had a good woman by his side, even on the come up. She was an established teacher. Yes, she wanted to be a singer, and she was trying to get her piano out of business. So he does something sweet for her.
Yeah.
Yes, he does something sweet. He knows she has a piano on layaway. So in the races, gambling, he wins some money and he gets her piano out of layaway. So when she comes home, she's like, is that my piano? So he's like, now I can finally hear you play. And then, of course, the fake voice, the fake singing voice of Sanaa Lathan starts playing and singing. And she's just like, falling in love, more and more with him. Like, what, this is a goal. This is something that I wanted to do. So I thought that it was amazing that, he did that. So he was still peeking through, his good heart. He was good with his sons. They had fun together. They had passionate sex and passionate play and all of that. And then things start to shift. I want to play something real quick, but things start to shift, and she has plans, and we're skipping around, y'all. So remember, so he gets fired from his job. He has this job with Benny rehabbing and he gets fired. He no longer needs them because he had to fill the space with a family member, nepotism. We know how that goes. So he gets another job, and then he's drinking on the job. And he loses that job after she finds out that he was drinking on the job. So it was like each chance that he got, he was trying to do it. And then after a while, he said, F it. And he stopped trying. So even, so then there's a scene where, she wants him to meet her friends, because that's what happens. That's the next step. You falling in love, you want to meet your friends. So they go over Claudette and her husband's house, and they're having conversation. And of course, he's almost being a jerk in a sense. And he's insecure, thinking that she's trying to change him. She was like, adjusting your tie and all of that. It's because I want my man to look good. So I want to play this scene.
In fucking month, my birthday, I want to go out, be spoiled a little.
Be spoiled. So because I can't buy you front row seats, you gotta punk me out in public?
No, no one told your ass to drink on the job.
You. Fuck your birthday.
Everybody. Somebody say, you ain't got to take that.
Right.
Say, girl, you all right? I love the background.
Y'all gonna look out for each other.
So that's a scene where it starts. I showed y'all in the beginning where it's good. And then that's when it starts going left. And I was talking about he was drinking on the job. So it starts going downhill from there. And then if it's not all the stuff going on, she finds out what, Leroy?
That she's pregnant.
That she is pregnant, right? So they come back in the house and, she finds out, she doesn't tell him she's pregnant. She talks to her friends, the left side and the right side, and they're talking about an abortion. They're talking about keeping it or getting rid of it. And she had an abortion in high school. So they're like, okay, this is not high school anymore. You're established. And who cares what anybody thinks? Because like many women struggle with this. They don't want to have a baby per se. They want to have the husband. They don't like Sanaa Lathan Zora said, like, I don't want to say my baby daddy. I want to say my husband. And so she was struggling with that. And many women do, because men don't have that same pressure per se. With having a wife and having a baby. Women, some women see it differently, that they want to be able to have the whole package. So she was struggling. So she hadn't told him yet. So then he was like, I know your period better than you do. I was like, oh. So, he comes, so she makes food and he goes and says he's taking out the trash and he's gone for hours. He comes back in and she's like, well, where you been? Again, no cell phone. So where you been? And then he comes in drunk and he's like, I know, you're pregnant. And, many women have this conversation. Please don't get rid of my baby. It's my baby. Don't. And then the woman's heart is torn because of course she doesn't want to get rid of the baby, but then she's trying to decide, hey, is this going to work out in the long run? Am I going to be able to have another responsible parent? So then she has the baby and then it goes downhill some more. You want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, and that was the thing. Like I said, Franklin's part, he was too, I don't say egotistical, because and I get it, when you're trying to make strides and you as a man are put under this pressure to provide, and you got 2 kids already. You got your ex-wife who's leaning on you the way that she leaned.
That ain't even your ex-wife yet.
Right, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? You haven't gotten that divorce final, but you meet this other woman that you're into, and now she's telling you, or not telling you, that she's pregnant. And so you got to figure this thing out, with being a man. And the only thing that he seemed to gravitate to was drinking. And I think, and I can't speak to that because I don't know what that's like. I've never drank in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I've wanted.
Right.
I've seen uncles, I've seen
Yeah.
folks around me. I just thought beer was the nastiest thing in the world ever.
Yeah.
I remember this. I had to have been maybe 10 years old or something like that. Down my grandmother's house. I'm not a drinker
too, so I feel you.
Down my grandmother's house, and my uncles, I think they were on the porch playing cards. Kendell, they had Colt 45.
Woo!
Why my uncle give me some Colt 45? Nastiest thing I ever had in my life. And I swear that is the only time
you was like, ugh.
I know.
Ugh.
Just straight nasty. So I'm glad that I've never had the desire to drink, never had the desire to smoke.
Me neither.
It's just never been who I was. I've never wanted to have that, in my life and everything like that. So
I had my first glass. I had my first glass of wine, I think, when I was in my 40s, early 40s, or maybe late 30s. I had a glass of wine.
I had it in college. In college, I had to take a class because I was hotel restaurant management major. But there's a class that we had to take, beer, wine, and spirits, and we had to taste the different wines, kind of, because you had to understand what wines were.
But that's different, I think.
Yeah, exactly, because you're only sipping. It's not like you're doing anything else,
right?
But, and all of those things. But so there's that difference with it and everything like that. But he used the drinking as a crutch.
Yeah,
and it caused him to be able to falter on his job He knew
Yeah.
he shouldn't have been drinking on that job.
Yeah.
And they had a right to fire him because he
Yeah.
got hurt
Yeah.
and had a drink on it. So you can't blame Zora for that. You had this
Yeah.
good job. That was a I think
That was because he was getting into the union and
right.
everything.
And he was getting the jobs on the regular, so it was going to be something consistent, which is what they needed. And
Yeah.
that's where I talk about what's your priority.
Yeah, but that's how it started too. That's how it started. It started with him making excuses and blaming everybody.
Right,
And
everybody but himself.
Right.
He was blaming everybody but himself.
Yep.
For the situation that he got into. And like you said, it just kind of snowballed because here Zora was trying to hold down the fort while he was, trying to get things back on track.
Yeah.
For him and everything like that. And it just she was like she got frustrated, and I got that part.
Yeah.
Because here's something that I want the ladies to understand too. And when she was saying it, I was like, I hope that women get that, because she was taking on the full financial responsibility of their family or the household.
Yeah.
Now imagine, flip that around and put that on a man. How do you think men feel having that, saying he's given the total responsibility of taking on? And that's why I tell fellas, I tell ladies.
But some men, like I've heard men say that they feel that is their responsibility. And they want to, some men want to do that, depending on what they've seen growing up and all of that.
And I tell men.
Yeah.
One, that's the miseducation of manhood, because that does not define you as a man paying all the bills.
That's not the definition.
Two, you're not Superman. You weren't created to do everything yourself. You weren't created to pay everything yourself. If you didn't need a woman to be a part of the marriage and the relationship, then God would not have created woman. He created her because you all are the part of us that does exactly what Zora did in here. Like, hey, there are things that need to be done. She needed to have the baby picked up.
But I think that that's different, though. I do. I think that that's different. I think it's different because he got himself fired. He was supposed to do something. They had a commitment and a rule. They had the conversation like, we're both going to do this. She said that she can't do that. She couldn't even afford to get her piano out of layaway. So she couldn't, she already had that, on a teacher's salary, but he made the commitment and the promise that he would be there to help. And that was part of their, it's not even the fact that she has to do it or he has to do the whole thing. That's not what they went into it saying. And she was totally trying to do everything. He wasn't working. She was working. She was trying to take care of the baby. She was trying to get her career, her singing career. She was trying to do everything. She went to Q-Tip. She was trying to get her demo done. And she was trying to do everything. She was trying to pursue hers too. He wasn't doing anything after he got fired. He just was laying around, not doing anything. So then they have the baby and Reg, which is Q-Tip, is like, you want to start. Right. Reg is like, you going to start. And she was like, no, I'm not, because she's thinking that she has the help from her helpmate, oh, no, I'm not. And then she misses her session. So he drops her. So she's already like, I'm already doing everything. I got doing the baby. Then I come home. You ain't changed the baby. You ain't done the dishes. You ain't cooked. You ain't done nothing. So now I got to do this. So that's a lot of pressure on her. She can't, fulfill her dream. She can't, he builds her a crib because he's good with his hands and all of that. And that was sweet and nice. And even her father was like, okay, now you got to step up. You got 3 kids now. You're going to have to step up. And he's like, no, I will, because he loves his kids. He wants to do it. But her last straw is when she came, she was like, I can't do it anymore. And I understand that breakdown. Men have it and women have it, to the point where it's like, I can't do it by myself no more. So what he did next was horrendous. So she's like, I'm going to leave. And then when I leave, I want you to move out. Well, he trashes her apartment. He trashes her brownstone. He gets rid of the shelves that he made, all her stuff. The only thing he doesn't,
built, he tore
right,
down.
everything. She comes home, it's trash. The only thing he could not trash was that piano. He almost did.
Yeah,
and he was like,
getting
I
ready
can't
to, and
do
then
it. He was getting ready to. And that's that drunken state, that depressive state, that you're not dealing with the things that you could have changed, you know what I mean, or the things that you could have corrected. So then, you know, they break up. But before that, she's riding with him, even with his parents' house. And they're like, well, what are you going to do? So the parents showed that he has been messing up for a long time.
Well, I think his mama, his father didn't really say anything.
Because his father knew, but his father didn't want to embarrass him.
Yeah, that's true.
But the mother was like straight up, but you can know that the father was still, he didn't want to embarrass him in front of his new woman. But the sister and the mother was like, where are you getting that money from? So you can see the pattern. So it was time for Franklin to grow up.
Yeah.
That's really what it was.
Yeah.
He had to grow up and get his stuff together. So they break up. So then what happens? They break up.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. And maybe you can talk a little bit about the book, because I know I've read the book, but it's been a long time since I read the book. When they break up, there's this period of a time frame that they both they go their separate ways, and they begin to kind of work on the dreams that they each told that they each had. She pursues the music. She starts to write again and everything like that. He goes back to school, gets his GED, and is getting ready to take his the exam to get his construction license and everything like that. So
getting that union.
Yeah. So they break, and I don't know if the book gives any kind of information for the interim period when they break up or not, because I know the movie kind of they show you kind of these little excerpts of him being in school, her being at the piano, writing with the baby on her lap and everything like that. So you knew what they were kind of working towards and doing and everything like that. And you know, to kind of show what they were doing after the breakup, and then that leads to him coming back to the house to see her and to see his son.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And even in the book, they do the same thing, you know, when he comes back. Can you turn that down, please? When because I went to the end of the book because I was trying to remember to see something. Because in the last chapter, they talk about where it's the same identical when her and Portia come back with the baby. Mm-hmm. And they come back and see what he did, and they started cleaning, said, well, let me just clean this up quickly. And then my heart was thumping hard by the time he got close enough to identify. So so they did. So through that, they were doing all of that as well. And then even they were getting themselves together. And of course, it was kind of different, doing the same things, but similar, just showing that from what I remember in the book. I haven't read it again in the last probably 20 years. I haven't read it again. Mm-hmm. But just them. And sometimes you do have to go this way so you can handle this and they can handle this and then come on back, back. So even in the book, when it's talking about, so when he rings the buzzer. So when I heard the buzzer, I almost dropped Jeremiah on the floor. The only person that pressed on it like that was Franklin. I ran towards the door. Then I made myself slow down. I was nervous, didn't know what to expect. I clutched Jeremiah, and from the top of the staircase, I saw Franklin's broad shoulders spread across the glass door. When I got to the bottom step, I looked at him. Remember? So ain't you gonna open the door? He called through the door. Are you gonna kill me? Yes, I got a gun full of bullets. I'm saving for you. Come on, Zora. I just want to see my son. I opened the door slowly and backed away. My heart was beating 100 miles per minute. Jeremiah was drooling on his sweatshirt. He's getting big, huh? So that's the last chapter of the book, and that's chapter 13. So remember, they showed in the movie a montage of, even though he was gone for a year, he was still kind of looking out for them. She didn't see him, but Franklin saw her and his son from afar.
Right.
So through this whole year, he was trying to get his GED, he was trying to get his divorce final, and he was trying to get into the union, right? And then meanwhile, she, has the baby, taking care of the baby. She says, hey, maybe I won't be a singer, but maybe I'll be a writer. She has the song Naturally Mine or something on the radio. And so she found another way to go into her passion. So he comes to the door as I was reading about that. And he says that, he couldn't really come back until he could face himself as a man. So talk about that a little bit as we wind down.
No, and I think that was true. Men were made to feel like that. And it's unfortunate that a lot of men, instead of facing their responsibilities, they feel as if, hey, it's an embarrassment to stay and try and handle them and be around versus, hey, I'm working on, getting myself together, doing the things that I need to do in conjunction with making sure that, that I'm taking care of my sons that I have. So, I mean, that was real. And because a lot of men do that, they feel like, hey, I don't want to go back around until I'm able to take care of what I take care of. That's unfortunate because you should have been taking care of that and still doing what you needed to do. And I don't know how you feel about this. I just honestly felt like you had these two people who wanted to accomplish, things in their life, and they meet at a time where they were both trying to build and grow.
Yes.
And,
yes.
To build and grow, and one doesn't handle trying to build and grow the right, as best as he could.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, the other gets kind of left with handling all of the responsibility of the relationship. So you understand why she was like, look, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. You're not trying, because I promise you, had he not been drinking on that job and didn't get hurt and held down that job, he would have been able to do what he needed to do.
Yeah.
Get his GED.
And move his pride aside and really grow up.
Right. And that was the, but that's honestly, but that's real though. That's with some relationships. That's some men are like that, some women are like that. And I just, when I thought about it, I was just like, here she was. They were passionate about what they were pursuing. He loved the construction and rehabbing the brownstone. She was passionate about music, but she understood, hey, like she told him, look, do you think I like, being a music teacher? That wasn't where her heart was.
Right.
Her heart was in getting that demo done, doing the music, but she knew, hey, in order for me to get the demo done, I've got to do certain things in order to be able to have that money that I need in order to be able to do it. Because the salary that I have wasn't going to be able to do that on my own. That's where he should have been. That's being a man saying, you know what? She has a beautiful voice. She's going to do something with this. I got to be on my A game.
Yeah.
And so many of us men don't come with our A game, but we expect a woman to accept that. No, she was holding him accountable.
She was holding him,
for what he promised he was going to do.
Yeah.
And I remember Alanya Van Zant, it was one of her best series that she did, which was called Motherless. It was Fatherless Daughters.
Yeah, and Motherless Sons.
It was still Fatherless Sons, something like that.
Yeah.
But it was the best series that she had.
That was good.
It was, they got deep in what they talked about.
Yeah.
It had to do with, and she said to the men, I remember saying, you didn't keep your promise. And that's what we do as men.
Yeah.
We haven't done is keep the promises that we tell the women that we get with or trying to get with. We promise them, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that.
The men need to keep their promise. That's powerful.
When it comes time to produce on those promises, it's like what Franklin did. He leaned on the liquor, and then he became defeated.
Yeah.
he became defeated and he got lazy. And
Yeah.
all she was doing was holding him accountable for what he promised he was going to do.
Yeah. That's deep. That's deep. And it's just so, and then to come back around, and sometimes you have to go like this to come back like this.
Yeah.
So, they couldn't do it together. And because it was just the last straw, I think Zora was a great woman, and she put up with a lot of things that other women may not put up with,
Right.
even from the beginning, and the red flags, and finding out you got kids and you didn't tell me, and finding out you married, then you thinking you graduated from high school, and then find out you don't have a GED, you ain't in the union, you drinking, so you lost your job, then you dealt with a lot.
But you know what the trump card was, right?
Which part?
No, you know what his trump card was and why she stayed.
She said, I would have told you that the big D. So she told him that because when he came over to get his boys, and she's like, you could have told me you was, my son, my boy said that they having a sister.
Right.
You should have told me yourself instead of me hearing it from them. Right. And I would have told her the big D ain't worth the headache and the stress. But the vitamin D was strong.
that chemistry, that passion that you talked about.
That passion, you can't buy that.
Passion and that chemistry that that was there. She was feeling that, and she wanted to, and Zora was the kind of woman that we as men hope that you get, that will believe in you, that will support you, and that's not looking for all of the materialistic stuff.
Yeah,
she was willing to look beyond the GED,
suit and tie, and all that.
Most women, they'd have ran when he said he didn't have a GED.
Yeah, and then when she gave him a key, they was like, "Woo!" After all that, like, come on. But the thing was, it's like Franklin, you can tell that he really liked her for her, and he wanted to see her win, but he needed to mature.
Right.
He wasn't, from the time you can tell he was insecure. When he went to her friend's house, you can tell, she wanted, for the birthday tickets, when she wanted to, she got money from her friends to be upgraded. And he's like, well, what, my tickets ain't good enough? Instead of saying, you know what, it is your birthday, I get it. So I get both sides of that. I was going to say,
would you have done that though? Would you have bought the ticket? The ticket?
No, if he bought me a ticket and we were going, I would have just sat in the seats that he purchased. Unless he was like, no, if you can get us closer, get us closer. You know what I mean? Right. So, but I wouldn't have wanted to step on him. Right. I see what she was saying because of all the crap that she's been through. She's like, it's my birthday finally. Right. So I can see both sides of that.
Yeah.
And then, he builds a crib and he takes the piano out of layaway. So, you see that he's a good dude, but you see he's not applying himself, and he really needs to grow up and get his stuff together, like he said. And he said, I couldn't come back until I could face you and be a man. And I think that a lot of men have to come to that realization, and a lot of women have to see, why am I settling or taking all of this now? Like, what is it? What's the deficiency in me? And he needs to find it in him, and they need to do that and then come together. So I think, we're at the end, but I think that, that movie has so many layers, and it's not that, okay, he's just the black bad guy and she's not. It just shows the dynamics of some relationships and how you're trying to navigate, and why people get in, and why people ignore red flags, and why people don't handle their business. And Ashanti's little sister, I remember, was in the scene where she was, you make my heart shake, when she was at the in her classroom, in her music classroom. So I just thought that, so tell me what you want to end with. Is there any scene that you want to talk about? Because of course we can't talk about every scene.
No, I just think we've covered the scenes that I thought about. But even the ending to the movie, with them, you kind of saw that they were going to get back together, because she comes as he's leaving and saying goodbye to her, and he's heading down the steps and everything like that. She gives that almost like that Love and Basketball scene, Double or Nothing.
Yes, exactly.
This is kind of like the same thing where it's like, I never
beat
you in Scrabble. I never beat you in Scrabble. and he smiles because he knows that that's her saying, okay, let's kind of see if this can work.
He was looking ashy and dusty in that movie in some parts, because he's supposed to be the construction worker.
Yeah.
And then even when she goes to do her demo, how they show the scene where he might be cheating or might not, and then he comes in.
No, but that was an important scene too, because he could have gone with that young lady, and I don't even know kind of the context of that relationship, but evidently they knew.
An old flame. That was an old flame.
Yeah, it was an old flame, and then they had been together. So, but him choosing to just put her in the cab, and then he went directly to the studio so that he could, be there in her session. I thought that was part of that, like you said, showing that he cared about her, and that he wanted to be there for her, and support her in that way. So I thought that was an important scene.
Yeah, it was, because it wasn't like she just like it tried to, and Terry McMillan tried to still show him as human and he cared for her, not like he was trying to play her. So none of the ways we thought, watching that he was trying to play her per se, like he wasn't playing games. He really loved her. He really was into her, but he didn't know how to handle a woman of her caliber, already established and, having it together, and somebody that was riding for him and having his back. It's almost like he didn't know how to handle that. And he was almost mad at himself. So he was mad at himself, taking it out on her a bit.
No, that's exactly what it was. It was him not stepping up and understanding, hey, I have somebody in my life. She's doing what she's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then holding him, and when he should have been holding himself accountable for what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And like you said, he was mad at himself for not stepping up. But what he did was, instead of taking it out on himself, took it out on the person that was right there with him, took it out on her. And said, hey, I'm gonna blame, which is what he had done throughout his life. He blamed everybody else but himself for what he needed to do. So so definitely, and he needed to step up, and he stepped up at the end when he got the GED, got the certification, and was like, look, I want to be the man that I told you I was going to be in the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It sounds like it's a verbiage coming back. I don't know, can you hear echo?
Yeah.
You hear the echo?
Yeah, is that yours?
I don't know whose it is. I can't. Yeah. I hear the echo.
Because I hear it too.
I don't know what happened at the end. That's never happened before. I'm like, what happened? I hear it.
Yeah, because I hear it too.
It sounds like it's a verb. You hear it?
Yeah, I hear it.
That's so weird.
You have your phone on?
Is that yours? I don't know whose it is. I can't. I hear the echo. That's so weird. But thank you. I know you're gonna hear echo, but this is more than just a movie with Kendell Lenice and Leroy Mckenzie Jr. We are talking about I can hear it. We are talking about the movie. Yeah, because my phone is not on. Look.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Make sure mine are too.
No, that's so funny. Bye, everybody. Make sure you subscribe below. More than just a movie disappearing at.
Next week.
Next week, what